Welcome to our first review about Veeam's Backup and Replication 9.5 program. The point of this review is just to kind of go over a few highlights of what Veeam can or can't do and just kind of exemplify why we won't really be using it for what we need. So, just to kind of jump into it, the high points are it does its job pretty well. Its job being to back up. There's a feature on it called the Cloud Connect, and with that you can add cloud gateways and public IPs, and you can pipe in backups from anywhere, combining the Cloud Connect with this program right here called the Veeam Accessibility Console. Putting both of those together, that allows you to take backups from anywhere and put them into a data center anywhere, so they don't have to be local. That being said, Veeam does have options with its agents to back up locally. So if you're just looking to back up your hard drive to another, let's say MyBook or MyCloud or any of those things on a local network, Veeam works just great. But then again, so does Microsoft's built-in backup programs. What we specifically look for in backup programs is the availability to failover. And with that ability, Veeam kind of falters a little bit. Now, not saying that they don't do well, but what does happen, and we go to our jobs, we can look at the restore options. Now, when we look at the restore options, you go from an agent, which is fine, and you get a couple of options. Let's say we want to restore the entire machine. Awesome, cool, let's do it. Instant recovery only is enabled for Hyper-V server environments, which, in my opinion, is kind of a shame because most people use vSphere and VMware products. I don't know that many cloud providers that use Hyper-V on their backend simply because you can't divvy up access rights. With that being said, well, at least you can't now. So with more people using VMware, it's odd that they only have Hyper-V built in. Running a VM environment using VMware, Veeam is not exactly the best tool to use due to its almost exclusive rights with Hyper-V. You can restore to Microsoft Azure, of course, again, Microsoft or Amazon EC2. So how do we restore to VMware if we want to? Well, that is a little bit of a convoluted process. We have to do a volume restore, export the disks, and then we just pick which job we want to back up, what day we want to back up to, pick which disks we want to back up. Let's just say disk 0. We can pick it and point it at whatever place we want to. Well, we have to pick a path too. But I'm not going to go through all of this and show you this. But the point is, as I'm sure you see where I'm going with this, is that to restore that, you have to take the backup job and restore the hard drives. Now, you can restore all the hard drives at once, which is fine. Dump them into a folder on a data store connected to your vSphere. Then you have to make the VM from vSphere. That's a few extra steps that you have to do in order to get a Veeam backup and turn it into a VM in VMware. We are not a big fan of this because we like to have continuous restores running. Veeam's continuous restores, as they refer to them as replication jobs, and to do that we have to do a virtual machine, which is unfortunate because a lot of the backup jobs aren't from virtual machines, and the way Veeam looks at them is that these are something completely different. It is looking for here an actual virtual machine, and we don't have any virtual machines in our inventory to replicate. I could connect it into our vCenter and our vSphere, and that will allow us to look into the different virtual machines that we have in our environment and back those up and replicate those. However, that kind of becomes redundant when you take into consideration that your machines in your environment are already being backed up by some other type of backup system, typically on your storage, such as I know Reduxio has their Time OS, which allows point-in-time recovery, as well as the Dell Compellent has point-in-time as well. So they're already being backed up that way. Why you would need to replicate again, I am unsure. So, but that's a terminology change between what Veeam uses for replication. So when we are referring to a restore or a continuous restore, that is something that is impossible to do if you are on a VMware hosted environment with Veeam. So for that reason alone is the big enough reason why we're not going to be using Veeam. Now, like I said at the beginning, is it does its job of backups really well. And if this is all internally used, Veeam is a great product. You can use it internally. You can use it to back up stuff internally from one data center, one data store to another data store, and replicate across those data stores fine, which is great. That's really great. But when it comes to wanting to actually use it as a failing over mechanism, unless you are in Hyper-V, it won't work that great. Therefore, we will be passing on using Veeam as our infrastructure tool. I just wanted to create this video to share with you guys what Veeam looks like on the back end and what it can or can't do. Now, this instance of Veeam is installed with very few bells and whistles. The Veeam Availability Console, which is shown here, is an add-on, but I believe that comes with the backup and replication. There are a few other add-ons for reporting and monitoring that do a decent job, but in my opinion, they're not that great. They don't really add value. So the only bell and whistle that we were shown in a demo that we were not able to do here is something called creating failover plans. And that is connected to the Cloud Connect component. There's this thing called replica resources, which allows you to add clusters and hosts in order to create that. However, to do that, your vSphere or VMware environment needs to have the option enabled where you can do resource pooling. If you don't have that, you can't do that. So a lot of the things within Veeam are heavily dependent on being able to have other items available. And even still, the replica resources and being able to have that failover plan in Veeam is still a one-time trigger. You decide at one point, hey, this is going to happen, we are failing over, and then you fail over. It's not exactly ideal for a continuous safety net that you want on the back end. So anyways, I hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions about whatever this product is and how to use it, and if it might be useful for you, or if there's another product we might recommend for you, please just give a comment or just shoot us an email. Thank you.